Good morning, AUIS students. This is the fifth and last of our academic success workshops for the spring 2021 semester. I'm your Dean of Students, Untitled. And this morning, I would like to discuss time management, both the logic behind it, but also some techniques and how to go about, learning about some of the mechanics of how to manage your time well. And then at the very end of the workshop, we'll hold a brief practice session, but in such a way that you could also do this on your own time if you're not watching this live. Now, as you know, the academic success workshops are meant to very much put into flesh and blood the mission statement of the Student Services Department of AUIS. Our job is to develop you emotionally, professionally, intellectually, as a person, as a citizen, as a human being, but also as a future worker, as a future entrepreneur, as a future manager and administrator. And that's why we have put together these academic success workshops. And I would argue that probably time management is the most basic ingredient of whatever successful undertaking we want to accomplish in life, because there's something both refreshing but also terrifying about time, which is, I've said this many times before, I have given a version of this, delivered a version of this workshop before. Time is the only resource that we have, folks, that we have to use extremely wisely, because we absolutely cannot recycle it. Water, we can recycle it. Paper, plastic, so many other things we can recycle. Time, we cannot. Unless, of course, you're an MCU character, specifically Dr. Stephen Strange or the evil Thanos. For the rest of us, we cannot even take back 0.0001% of the time that we spend, and that could be spent wisely, productively, in a way that could benefit you and the people around you, or it could be wasted. But either case, time is very, very objectively indifferent as to how we spend it, and it does not come back. We have not figured that out, and I don't think we will in our lifetimes. So we got to learn how to use this unrecyclable resource most efficiently. How do we go about doing that? First, we need to understand the philosophy, some of the basics, the basic logic about what time management actually means. And you will see later in this presentation that many of this philosophy in practice. The philosophy of time management basically is, having a sensible plan for your day, for your week, for your semester, even your year, or perhaps longer periods of time. Many of you who watch this presentation are undergraduate students. So how do you go about planning for your day, for your week? You want to make those plans as realistic as possible. Don't tell yourself something like, I'm going to study 10 hours today, but then only deliver 1 hour. If you're only going to study 1 hour, then make a plan to study 1 hour. The important thing is keeping track of the things that you're saying to yourself and then going about accomplishing them. If that particular day, it's a weekend, you really had a tough week, you feel a little tired, you only want to have fun, then even make a plan for that. Even on off days, you really want to use that time productively. Instead of sitting at home doing nothing, you want to go out and maybe take a walk. If you don't have enough money, you can go window shopping. You can look at the price of things, you can look at the products, you can look at the services, you can go do people watching. even the time that you're not spending on studying or doing work, you can use productively. Now, a big part of time management, as someone who has become aware of it in the last 20 years, since I was about your age, about 20 years ago, is really to have not only a lot more time to do more work and to also have more fun, but to have more energy. And you go about that by doing the right things with your time, but also with your body. So you really got to rest well. If you rest well, if you eat well, you will have more energy to do all of these things. In the past, this presentation was called Time and Stress Management. I'm going to touch upon stress management very briefly, but the focus is going to be on time management. But you need to understand that those two things, having a lot of time and lowering your stress levels, and boosting your mood, and having physical and mental energy to endure the hardships of life. These things are all very closely linked to each other. Now, one of the things I have found in my time, and I know many people will disagree with me on this, is the notion of multitasking. That while we're texting our friends and music playing in the background, there's a YouTube video that's going on, a podcast maybe, and we have our notebook or our coursework in front of us. I have found over the year that doing those 3, 4, 5 things in life, trying to juggle them like a juggler would juggle batons or balls in the air, doesn't really work when you're doing when you want to do serious work. I haven't studied this enough to speak more about what I'm going to say in a second, but there's a notion called deep work, which says that you should really avoid any type of distraction. Your phone, whether it's your office phone I have here, or whether it's your smartphone, put them away from you, and then just to focus at the work in front of you. You can multitask in the sense that, you wake up in the morning, you study for course A for 2 hours, and then go to class, and then focus on that class, and then go to the library, focus on that, study at the library, then go to your other class, and then go home, eat your meal, go back to studying, that sort of thing. But if you were to mix all of that with a bunch of, I'm going to talk to my friend while my book is up there, while I'm listening to a podcast, and my friend is trying to explain something to me, that is not going to work. Multitasking works in the sense that, you can do multiple tasks in one day, but doing all of them at the same time, I have found over the years, it just doesn't work. So what deep work means is that you want to go deep. You really want to focus your energies, your mental energies, your physical energies on the very task you have in front of you. And then once that one is done, take a quick break or a long break, move on to the next task. So you want to really keep your workspace clean. You want to therefore keep your mind clean so that you can focus on the task at hand. One thing that really helps me, this is something, deep work is not something I've really tried, but one thing that really helps me is keeping my phone in the other room when I'm working, either in the living room or in a bedroom while I'm in my study, or if I'm in my office, if I'm in my AUIS office as I am right now, just to put my phones away, even on my desk, to put them a little further away from my reach. If they beep or if they buzz, then I can ignore them for a while if I'm not expecting an important phone call or message. And by the way, 99% of the messages and the phone calls that you're going to receive in life are not going to be urgent and important. Sometimes they might be urgent, sometimes they might be important. They won't be the two things at the very same time, seldom so. And I will discuss as part of this presentation the difference between urgent and important later on. two maxims, wise sayings I have found over the years with respect to, in terms of thinking about time management are here posted. While they're, in terms of the time values that they mention, they're actually alluding to the same thing, right? If you show up somewhere slightly early, that means you're ready to go. You're not stressful. Your pulse, your blood pressure is at a manageable level, so that when the time comes, whether it's a job interview, whether it's your class, whether it's your exam, where it's an oral presentation, you will be ready. You will be in a more serene state of mind. That's why time management, folks, is so important. And I will be sharing, when I send out this presentation, the PowerPoint slides for this presentation, I will share with you the Brent Bishore article. I believe I've done it before, but I'll do it again to be on the safe side. It has a great way of explaining why being late is sends such a terrible message about you in the professional world. So, and it gets into some of the philosophy of some of the things I've been discussing really, really well. And of course, at the end of this presentation, there will be a list of sources that over the years have helped me think about time management. So you will get those too. Now, having discussed, therefore, the philosophy, let's move on to the techniques. Now, what I said a moment ago in the introduction, cracking an MCU joke, a Marvel Cinematic Universe joke, was almost misleading, because there actually is a way, as Doctor Strange did in Avengers Infinity War, we can actually see into the future, ladies and gentlemen. Not through the time stone, but through our own work and smart planning. Organizing our time and organizing our schedule isn't really about, monomaniacally just writing things down and following them minute by minute, hour by hour. It's really so much more to see what's in front of you, the lay of the land, trying to see what's going to happen in the next 24 hours, in the next 7 days, in the next month, for the rest of the semester, for the rest of the calendar year, for the rest of the academic year, perhaps even, what's going to happen in 2 or 3 semesters ahead. Now, I need not tell you, in this pandemic world that we're living, that we, trying to foresee events is pointless. None of us could have thought in January 2020 that we would be on virtually in a quarantine era, in an era of nonstop lockdowns and uncertainty for more than a year. Possibly it could last for as much as 2-3 years. So I'm not saying this is really going to sort of help you close your eyes, use the time stone, and see exactly 14,000,005 possibilities of your future. But it will help you. It will help you frame your mind into thinking what you want to do first. What are some of the things that you want to focus on? What are some of the things that you want to cast aside? What are some of the things that are not important for you, and that you should really not spend too much time on those things? Over the years, I found a bunch of things to be extremely useful in helping me organize my time. One of them is called this Eisenhower Matrix, which I don't much use anymore. But in the past, I found it to be extremely useful. By the way, a quick note about the second part of this presentation. The techniques are really things that I want you to consider. The philosophy you really have to understand and take to heart. But for the techniques, you can pick and choose any one of these things. So don't feel obliged to follow any of these or all of these. You don't have to do any of this, but be aware of them. Most of these academic success workshops are meant to help you think about how to approach problems. Okay, so one of them is the Eisenhower Matrix. Another, which, as you can see, I'm using fairly diligently these days, is the weekly planner, which, as I said, I actually have on my desk right now. It's actually not just a weekly planner, it's a planner for the whole year. And in fact, I will share this with you too, because it's free. I got it from a website called Calendarpedia. You can see the name up there, but I will share the PDF with you. What these sorts of things enable you to do is to basically write out or type in, as sometimes I send myself, emails about, the things I want to do. So I have how many? 2, 4, 6, about 8 things I want to do this week. Now I can tell you right off the bat, about 3 things on that list I'm probably not going to be able to accomplish this week. But of those, the 5 things, the top 3, obviously, they're, as you can see, they're highlighted. I need to finish those 2 tasks by Wednesday, the latest, so that then I can focus on the other things. Send that email to Mr. Lawan, and then reach out to Professors Nancy, Katongo, Jamali, and Liz about about discussing teaching methods. Now, a much simpler version of a daily planner, by the way, and this is something I still do from several days of the week, especially if I have a pretty busy schedule for a day. I simply, the night before, I sit down and I write out what I'm going to do that morning, at the very least the morning, and sometimes, as you can see, maybe not in terms of time by time, hour by hour. I sit down and write my appointments, the time slots that I'm going to use for the specific tasks. So this morning, I wanted to go over briefly of my notes, this PowerPoint slide, to make sure that I didn't have any typos, which I actually caught 3 of them while I was doing the reviews. Check my morning emails, answer any that was urgent, and then at 10:45, I sat down and had a sound check with my colleagues in the IT department, who graciously helped me, set up this webinar. I'm grateful for our IT colleagues for their help with this. And at 11 o'clock, obviously, right now, that's the current thing I'm doing right now, is the time management workshop. And as you know, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I have my office hours via Zoom from noon till 1 p.m. And at 1 p.m., around about 1 p.m., I will go to lunch. And yes, it may sound silly to tell myself I'm going to go to lunch, but the problem is sometimes I'm so focused on work that I have a cup of tea, and that keeps me satiated for maybe a half hour, an hour. And then, by the time it's 2:30 or something, I realize, I have to go to lunch. And then I rush back home, and so on and so forth. So this is a way also of me telling myself that, man, you got to eat around 1 p.m. You got to leave for lunch around 1 p.m. so that, you can eat around 1:30. And then, later in the evening, you can go to your gym. And as I've mentioned before, sorry for bringing up food for those of you fasting. As I've said before, I can't really do my religion's precepts in terms of fasting, but try to do a bit of intermittent fasting. So anyway, sorry for my inappropriateness. And in the afternoon, that policy work I mentioned, there are 2 reports. There were reports. Finish those reports, and then later on, I tell myself that you got to go to the gym again. This is for today, and I don't do this for every day because some of my days are pretty routine. I don't have to keep track of many things. I have if things are pretty routine and manageable, then that's fine. I can go about doing that. A brief comment about this Eisenhower Matrix and that the maxim of plans are worthless, but planning is indispensable. That comes from the U.S. Army general from World War II. He was a supreme commander of Allied forces in Western Europe during the war. Dwight David Eisenhower later on became the president of the United States in 1953. Really smart man, very good organizer of resources and of time, of resources. You're a very good strategist. And one of the things that he figured out in terms of having to deal with dozens and dozens of tasks before him was to separate them into 4 categories. Going back to the sheet, which I will also share with you. At the top of his list would always be tasks that were both important and urgent. Things that had to be done immediately, because they were both time sensitive but also very important for their overall goals. There could be things that are usually important but not necessarily urgent. So these would not be, in terms of time, be as pressing as group one, but they will still be important, and that they should be taken care of sooner rather than later. Under group three, he pointed out, would be things that are urgent but not necessarily important. So something has to be done, within the next couple of hours, later today, tomorrow, no later than the end of this week. Those things would come under category three. And I'm not going to, give examples on this, because every situation is different from each other. Again, this is to help you frame your ideas, help you plan your time and your priorities. And then under number four would come things that are neither urgent nor important, and those things you basically put on the very back burner, not do at all, or ask someone else to do in your stead, or just don't worry about them at all. And as you start to rise in your career and in your achievement ladder, folks, you will see that a lot of things that 10 years ago you thought important would go under category four, and things that in your younger days you thought were category four would go up to category three or two or even one. So you got to think about those things, about what do I have to do right now that is important. If I don't do it right now, I'm not going to succeed, or worse, I might even fail. What are those things that you need to do that are both important for your future, for yourself, for the people around you, and that they have to be done very, very quickly? Those are the important and urgent things. So you got to think about this chart and these categories, and start setting priorities in terms of all the mumbo jumbo tasks in your mind. Another way to think about planning your time is doing it on a weekly or a semesterly basis, or even yearly basis. This is the let me see, this is from fall 2007, from when I was a graduate student at the University of Virginia. This was a mix of the courses I was both taking as a student, but also the courses that I was teaching. And I also had a night job at the library, at Alderman Library at UVA. So, I also put that in. And as you can see, there are time slots, there are days of the week. And then there was the discussion sections I taught. So these were basically courses that I was the teaching assistant for, and we had the main courses during the day. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, we would have the discussion sections, so that we would know, I would know where to be at what time and things of that sort. So this is another way to think about how to organize your time. And as I said before, in terms of yearly planning, you can get yourself a very nice calendar. Some of the better ones today are just completely free, although I like the even bigger ones, that they look like a sort of large a copybook, a notes book that you might use for your classes. I like, some of you may realize, I like taking notes longhand. It helps me think. You can also use those, folks. So those are the techniques. One thing I also want to mention as part of the second part of this workshop is asking you to be careful about your smartphone usage, smartphone consumption, because I see that many of you are on social media too much. Many of you hang around there a lot or on your phones, and it really comes at a huge cost to your academic and professional success, and at times even your health, with your energy levels. Sometimes I see, I myself go to Instagram as you will see in a moment, and some of you follow me, and I follow some of you, mostly alumni by now. And I see you guys, posting things at 3, 4 a.m. That's the time when you really should be resting, when your body should really be recharging your batteries. How do you keep track of that? Many phones have these things. On Samsung, it's called digital well-being. It's essentially an app counter to show how much time you're spending on certain apps. I'm not proud of any of the ones there. I don't spend too much time on Instagram or that samurai game I'm playing, which is really a childish game. You just go there and you grab sword and you attack the bad guys. On my YouTube consumption, and this is, by the way, just from this morning. So this thing shows me as having been on my phone for 2 hours, and I've been out of bed for a little over 5 hours. So it might look like I've wasted already 2 hours on it. The reason why that's the case is I do either listen to music on YouTube or watch podcasts. But even then, for the first half of my day, one could say this is too much smartphone consumption. So I know for tomorrow, I need to dial it down a little bit. I need to, not grab my phone and just unlock it all the time to see what's happening. One nice thing about these app counters is that not only do they show you your total usage, as you can see there on the left-hand side, it says unlocks. That shows how many times I unlocked my phone, so that you will know that, if you're unlocking your phone, 50 times a day, 60, 70 times a day, maybe you're actually spending too much time or you're distracting yourself too much. So I strongly urge you to download this sort of a counter onto your phone. For a lot of phones now, these things are just built in. Look it up, Google them, and find what they are. And you can manage your time much more effectively, much more wisely. So this brings me to the end of part 2, the techniques of time management. And these are just reminders of the things that I've discussed so far. So I'm not going to go over them, but all of these are meant to help you think better about your most precious resource, along with your health. That's your time. Once you lose it, it's not coming back. Health, we can regain. Most of the time we do, unless it's a terrible disease, unless it's a chronic disease. We often gain our health back, but not with time, folks. It doesn't come back. So think about these techniques and think about which ones work, which ones might work best for you. Experiment. All right. I did mention that, in the past, this presentation used to be called Time and Stress Management. Quick note, poor time management often leads to stress because, if you spent 5 hours on your phone in the evening, you came home at 5 or 6 o'clock and then you were on your phone, you ate a meal with your family, but you were still on your phone, checking your phone on the side, even though you had to study for an exam or you had a paper to finish, right? So the clock hits 11 p.m. and you have a paper to submit by 9 p.m. the following morning, and you did 9 a.m. the following morning, excuse me. But so far, you've done very little work on it because you were on your phone all the time, or you were talking to your friends, or you didn't plan ahead. What happens next? Oh, stress starts to build. You're like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So you try to pull an all-nighter, and when you try to pull an all-nighter, your paper, the quality of your paper goes down. Your final product is poor. And you might even make mistakes with citations, with paraphrasing and things of that sort. And then your professor says, boom, you also engaged in academic misconduct. Then you get in additional trouble for that. And that puts more stress on top of you. And then you start to feel, oh God, I'm not worthy. I'm a failure. And then for your next task, unfortunately, people seldom break out of these, vicious circles. It's very hard snapping out of them very quickly. Often, the worse things get, you simply repeat the mistakes that got you into that problem area in the first place. You keep repeating the same mistakes only to make the problem even worse. So how do you snap out of that feedback loop? Two things. One, you need to understand, again, you're not unworthy. You just are someone who made bad decisions. And by making better decisions, by making good decisions, you can snap out of it. None of us is inherently born with the ability to succeed. None of us are natural success people, folks. It just takes time. It takes good planning. It takes good organization. So, as one great World War II leader says, there's actually very little difference between success and failure. People who succeed are only those who don't mind failing all the time. They try again, they get up, they try again, they get up, they try again. They learn from their mistakes and move on. Mr. Churchill's counterpart in the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, had a great saying about this. The only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. If we don't fear fear, if we're not afraid at all, then we can go about our business, and we can improve ourselves and our country and our economy and our communities. A lot of this, again, goes back to, of course, managing your time well. If you're sleeping well, if you're getting enough exercise, and as I said, even a 30-minute walk around the neighborhood is good exercise. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to, eat a lot of carbs and proteins and vegetables like me, and go on and pump your weight at the gym. You don't have to do that. In fact, for the love of God, I urge you not to do it. It's too much work. But it will give you a lot of energy. Even that 30-minute walk, it will help you clear your mind. It will help you go stress-free. It will give you the resources to do all of the other things in your life. Hang out with your friends, do your work, get good grades, and then upon your graduation, go out there and get good jobs or start great businesses and provide employment and opportunities for your community. Now, when I used to deliver this workshop, I would hold a practice session, because it's a workshop. You want to get some involvement, get some practice. Workshop, you're essentially trying to get the participants to work in the classroom. But obviously, because of the pandemic, we can't do that. But I want you to do, one of these or any of these or all three of them after you watch this workshop, this session. One of them is get that Eisenhower Matrix. And as I said, I'm going to send you that piece of paper. I'm going to send you that in PDF form. So you can print it out, and then you can download it and you can fill it out. Write down all of those things that you have to do this week or next week. What are the things that are urgent and important? What are the things that are important but not urgent? What are the things that are urgent but not necessarily important? And what are the things that are neither urgent nor important? Write it down, and then set priorities between those groups. Tackle the ones that are urgent and important first. Ignore the ones that are neither urgent nor important. Another thing I would like you to try is to make a list of the unproductive things that you do. Hanging out on social media too much. There are easy ways of even keeping track of this without the app counter I mentioned earlier. Whenever you turn on your phone and you're going to go on Instagram, check your watch. Okay. Speaking of time management, also grab a wristwatch. These really come in handy. I know many of you just like to check your phone, but when you check the time on your phone, it almost tempts you to unlock your phone and just go back down the rabbit hole. So grab a wristwatch, and then when you're on your phone, just take a quick look at what time you unlock your phone, and when you put your phone down again, check your watch. If it's a couple of minutes, then that's fine, and you don't go back to it for an hour or two. You're in the right spot. But if you feel that you're beginning to do this at all, you're beginning to do this too often, checking your watch, checking your phone, checking your watch, checking, there's something wrong. So take a look at your social media usage, your phone usage, how much time you're spending on the games on your phone. And by the way, let me come out clean. I'm not some perfect, time manager. I'm not a version of Thanos or Doctor Strange, where I'm very good at manipulating my time and I use everything super effectively. No, there are weekends when I'm on the phone, 8 hours, 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours, or I'm reading a book and doing nothing else. Mix things up. You can see you can keep good track of these things if you write them down. So make a list and get a sense of how much time you're spending on unproductive activities, but also make a list of the productive activities that you're undertaking. Are you reading a good book? Are you watching an important documentary? Are you listening to a podcast by an accomplished figure? Are you listening to a podcast that's related to your work, that's related to your study, that's related to your research? One thing I am almost sure that those of you who write down, who make these lists honestly, and who fill out their Eisenhower Matrix honestly, will realize that there are a lot of things that you should not be doing. That there will come a moment when you will realize that you can manage your time much more efficiently, that you can become a Doctor Strange and see into your future and make your future much better than your past. As I said, we can't really go into the past, but we can have a good sense of our future if we make a good plan for it. And so you can be, on the one hand, both more successful than you are, but also be happier than you are. Those things happen to be intimately connected to each other. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Let me bring up. Yeah, this is probably my favorite cartoon about whenever I'm giving this a version of this presentation. I always use this when we reach the Q&A. So let me bring up the AUIS live. And I think I'm going to hear my voice. There you go. Good. Right. So are there any questions on the chat box? I don't think many people are watching right now. Just one person watching? Two person watching. Well, I'm the other one, so this is too meta. So let me type out, say, hello. Does the one viewer on here have any questions right now? I don't think there are going to be any questions. Yeah, this is very meta. Now I'm seeing the top chat there. It's quite interesting. 3 likes. Hey, awesome. And that other person logged out, so watching. I might be the only person watching this right now. This is heartbreaking. Let's see. I'm guessing there are no questions. Well, anyway, you guys know how to reach me. Let me know if you would like to. If you'd like to discuss this. I have office hours in about 20 minutes, so if you want to talk about this or something else, reach out to me. This is the last academic success workshop for the spring 2021 semester. If you would like to rewatch this presentation and the other 4 that we held, 2 of them by our communications director, Mr. Lawit Mesfin, the link is there, and I will send you that link via email. We will be holding with the Communications Office initiative the Career Week next week, so that's going to be terrific. We're working on the program right now, and by Thursday we're going to announce it and let you know who's coming and what we're going to do. It's going to be pretty awesome, and I hope to see plenty of you there. Thank you for your time for listening, and